As you can see now, we can talk to the government. The Environment Secretary, Steve Reid, joining us this morning. Very good morning to you, Steve Reid. Thanks for talking to us. You are announcing new powers today, aren't you, that mean that water executives who cover up or hide illegal sewage spills can now be locked up. But I want to hear about that. But also, what difference will that make when illegal sewage dumping has been the law for 30 years?
Well, people are furious that beautiful rivers like the River Lark behind me up at Bury St Edmunds, where I am this morning, all of our rivers, lakes and seas in this country are awash with record levels of pollution the last year of the Conservative government. And that's happened because regulation and enforcement were so toothless under them. It's shocking that no water executive or water company employee has ever been given a fine, let alone a prison sentence, despite record levels of illegal sewage dumping. That all ends today. Water companies who break the law in these ways will now face up to 2 years in jail unless they clean up their act. In the general election, we said we would act to clean up pollution in our rivers, lakes and seas. Promise made, promise delivered.
Well, the context of this, let me talk about the context a little bit more, because today the public spending watchdog, the National Audit Office, has delivered a pretty damning report on the industry. They've said essentially the whole sector is a mess. So who do you blame for that?
Right. Well, the previous government had 14 years to act and they did nothing. We've had 10 months so far. We've already brought in new legislation that allows these prison sentences to focus the minds of those water company chief executives. But the NAO is saying that over the next 25 years, £290 billion, a huge amount of money, is required to be invested to fix our broken sewage system. Pipes that are crumbling beneath the ground underneath our feet. We've already secured £104 billion of that, and it'll be spent over the next 5 years. So we are well ahead of the recommendations from the NAO. The period of water pollution and a crumbling water system in the UK is ending now. We said we'd fix it, we're fixing it.
Well, yeah, and to pay for the infrastructure, our water bills are going up, aren't they? People will want to know that that money is well spent and that the infrastructure is adequate. How will you ensure that?
Well, we've also secured a commitment that every single penny of customers' money that is earmarked for investment in upgrading our pipes will be spent in the way that it should be. Otherwise, it will be returned to customers as discounts on their bills. No more siphoning off tens and hundreds of billions of pounds in undeserved bonuses and payments to water company shareholders. The money will be spent on what it should have always been spent on, and that is fixing our crumbling water system.
Offwat, the regulator, comes in for a lot of criticism, as well as other regulators and the government. But Offwat, not least for their price review process, is criticised. Have you got confidence in Offwat and its leadership?
Well, I've commissioned Sir John Cunliffe, who is the former Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, to produce a report to me that I'll get in June of this year on what we need to do about regulation and the regulator to make sure that the problems of the past can never happen again. It's clear the system is failing absolutely everybody, customers, the environment, investors as well. We have to get a water system that will work for all of those interests. We're looking at how we fix the regulation, but we've already, as I said, secured that additional investment. And from today, serious consequences for water company bosses who break the law. No more getting away with it scot-free, as we saw under the Conservatives.
Water UK, which represents the industry, has suggested that households that use a lot of water or have big gardens or have swimming pools, for example, should be charged more for using water. Do you agree with that? Is that a good idea?
Well, it's not something I'm looking at right now. My focus is on fixing a broken system. As things stand, and it's in the NAO report as well, by the middle of the next decade, the 2030s, we start to run out of clean drinking water in this country. That is a shocking thing because it would lead to rationing of drinking water, not something we want to see in the United Kingdom. Because of the money that we've secured, that £104 billion that will be spent over the next 5 years, we can guarantee clean drinking water for decades to come. I think that's where our focus should be. How do we guarantee a strong and functioning water system and get away from the chaos and sewage that we've been left with today?
The NAO raises the issue of weak infrastructure, which is one of the issues at Temps Water, for example, which is struggling with huge financial problems. It's almost £20 billion in debt and needs fresh investment within months. The government stepped in to rescue British Steel. Would it consider doing that for Thames Water?
Well, we're keeping a very close eye on what's happening with Thames, as you would expect. The company remains stable, but the government is ready for every eventuality. But part of that review that Sir John Cunliffe is doing, that will be published in June, will be looking at how we need to change regulation. So the kind of practices that happened in the past that have led to Thames Water being in the financial mess that they're in right now cannot happen again to them or to any other water company. They need to be financially sustainable, as well as providing clean drinking water and ending the scandal of pouring sewage into our rivers, lakes and seas.
While I've got you, I just want to get your views on what's going on regarding the war in Ukraine. Donald Trump has said that he believes that a deal is close for some kind of peace. That deal appears to involve Russia hanging on to a certain amount of land that it's gained, including Crimea. Is Donald Trump wrong to push for that?
Well, it's up to Ukraine to take decisions about their own territory. They were subject to a brutal, illegal and unprovoked invasion by Russia. The UK is speaking with our allies, putting together a coalition of the willing so that we can stand foursquare behind Ukraine as we always have them. But decisions about exactly what a peace deal looks like really should be in the hands of the Ukrainians, not outsiders like us.
And there are reports in the papers today that Britain is likely to abandon its plans to send thousands of troops to protect Ukraine in the event of some kind of peace deal because the risks are deemed too high. Is the government still committed to sending troops as opposed to military trainers to Ukraine?
Well, those negotiations are still underway. There haven't been any decisions taken yet, but all options remain on the table, whether that's land, air or sea. We need a strong alliance of countries, a coalition of the willing, as the Prime Minister calls it, to make sure that any peace deal can hold, because nobody wants to see this situation happening again in Ukraine.
But it's possible the ground troops may not go in from the UK?
Well, all options remain on the table.
OK, and one final question about discussions with the EU about improving trade prospects there. The Chancellor has acknowledged that a youth mobility scheme or something similar is under discussion. The government had previously said that there were no plans for that. So it does now seem more open to it. Is that right?
Well, there won't be any return to freedom of movement or rejoining the single market or the customs union. We were clear about that in our manifesto, and we're just as clear about that today. The primary purpose of the negotiations is to improve our trading relationship with the European Union. For instance, food exports from the UK into Europe have declined by 20% since 2018. If we can lower those Tory trade barriers and get food moving across the border again, that's money back to British businesses, British farmers, and it's money into the pockets of the people that work for them. Our focus is on the national interest and growing the economy in the interests of working people.